Welcome everyone to another episode of X Talks. We are waiting for few of our speakers and audiences to join, and after that, we'll kick this one off. Before we go live, just a quick sound check from Cryptonaut and everyone else.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yes, sir, loud and clear.
Testing. Can you hear me?
Yep,
Testing as well. Hello.
yeah, loud and clear.
I'll be here. 1, 2, 1, 2.
Yes, sir. Twitter usually rugs Twitter Spaces, so it's best to test stuff before going live. Cryptonaut, while we wait for everyone else to join, would you say a few lines regarding today's topic, what we are going to discuss, and stuff like that?
Yeah, for sure. So today, this episode, we're going to be talking about creating adoption in Web3. And that can be basically pretty much anything from products to services to even building your own community. So, pretty excited stuff. Can't wait to start diving in.
Awesome, that's really awesome. So, I guess before we kick this one off, I would like to remind everyone to join the Layer 1X Discord if you haven't done so yet. We have pretty interesting stuff going on there. Not just that, but we are gearing up for mainnet launch as well. And plus, a huge shout out to ex co-host for setting this one up. And as always, I'll be on the lookout for questions in the comments section. So if you guys have any, we'll take this one off towards the end or in the middle. Cody, passing over to you.
Yeah, thanks. I appreciate that. For anybody that's tuning in, my name is Cody. I am the Chief Experience Officer at Layer 1X. Layer 1X is a blockchain that is focused on interoperability. Natively, we do it completely 100% bridgeless. And going through today, looking at today's panelists, it looks like we've got quite a good lineup today. So I'm kind of excited to have a great discussion, go down a couple of different rabbit holes. But before we do, please feel free to take 30 seconds and give us your elevator pitch about you and your project or your protocol that you are currently on.
Okay, well, I think I can kick off. I've been on a few of the spaces previously, and I recognize quite a few of the speakers. So, thank you for having us. My name is Nobara, and I'm looking after the global communications over at Genso Kishi, which is a 3D MMORPG and a metaverse with UGC or user-generated content building options integrated into it. So, if you haven't checked us out, please make sure to do so. We're based on Polygon, and it's quite easy to sign up. We don't require any prior investment, so you can just play the game. Thank you.
I can go now. I don't know if do we have a specific order? I can go next.
It's like musical chairs.
Yeah, who goes next? I'm Katie. I'm the founder and CEO of Fabs. We're a Web3 user acquisition company. So we help projects basically get users through key channels like KOLs, PR, branding, and go-to-market strategies. We work heavily in the DeFi space, so very interested to hear the conversation today and all see some familiar and some new faces ready to kind of dive in. So thanks for having me and looking forward to meeting and hearing the rest of you. Over to you, Adam.
Thank you very much. Yeah, it's my first time here on Layer 1 today, so thank you very much for having me. I am co-founder of Spark.xyz. We're building what we want to be the easiest way to take crypto payments, working with a lot of Web3 games, products, platforms. Our biggest sale was Portal Coin. If you saw that in December, it was a $25 million sale, and we handled that for them. Often we're basically making it easier for people to use products and pay for items and drive users to games and services in the easiest way possible. So it might be quite appropriate for this topic. Also, I have a big interest in Web3 gaming. I've co-founded a Web3 gaming studio before called Formation Games, releasing a free-to-play mobile game called Club, entering beta now, and looking forward to listening to all the other speakers today as well.
I guess I can jump in here. So I'm Matt. I'm head of marketing at Sato. It's great to be here. Thanks for having us. I really enjoy these spaces. So for anyone that hasn't come across Sato, we're a foundation for Web3 data. So basically what that means is we're a base layer that's acting as a modular data network that can plug into any blockchain. So chain agnostic layer one that's built to be 100% permissionless and supported by chain abstraction, which I think is really cool for the topic of today as well, because we'll dive into this a bit later. But when we think about adoption, things need to be super accessible, and data is one of those things that there's a lot of conversations around accessing data, and basically our mission is to make that seem very seamless using modular design frameworks and a few other things that we can chat about later. But yeah, great to be here.
I can jump in next. My name is Travis over at Vayner. We are an up-and-coming L1 where we like to say we're Web3 for the billions. Adoption is really, mainstream adoption has really kind of like been in our DNA since foundation, and what we kind of built up from creating a more seamless journey for both users and brands as they come in and into the space. We like to say we want to meet the market where they already are, as opposed to kind of creating a new market for them to learn or understand.
Hey there. My name's Crimson Clad, and I am a core founding co-member with the Hive blockchain, which you'll see there is a listener. It's at Hive Blocks here on X. Basically, the Hive blockchain is one of the longest running, truly decentralized, open source, free to use, no gas fee blockchains out there. It sounds like a lot of buzzwords, but what it really is a giant community of crypto natives, as well as complete normies who stumbled into our space. We're using SocialFi, GameFi, and DeFi to power a vast information sharing network. What that means is all of your social relationships, social graph, are kept on chain, and they're treated with the same value as financial transactions. We believe that Web3 has to be seamless and smooth. And when you're powering the things that people do on the internet, having them pay every time to whether it's play a game or hang out with their friends really defeats the purpose of building up free and self-sovereign assets and an identity. So that's kind of what Hive Blocks is all about. And community is the biggest part of our DNA, with a social graph and users participating in Web3 social since 2016, actually.
Hello, everybody. This is Jeffrey Monis, co-founder of Cyberleap. Thank you guys for having us here. A little bit about us. We're a massive social application with competitive features for gamers, embedded with an AI anti-cheat technology and a biometric player verification. We started this journey to stop the plague of cheating in online games, creating a level playing field for all. Again, thanks for having us.
Hey everybody, it's Jen Marie. I am a current Hug artist and a content creator, as well as a member of the Rug Radio DAO. I'm also a music artist on chain, so I have music that's on Sound and Zora. And currently, right now, my main focus is at Hug Studios, where I'm an artist creator, where I bring artists on chain, whether it's a musical artist, whether it's digital artists, to really create a pathway for them to get their art out to the masses, as well as host Innovation Laboratories, which is currently going on right now. We're currently in Stability AI, learning how to, animate our art and learn new tools to just make the art immersion experience pretty cool. So I'm super excited to talk all things creating adoption in Web3, especially when it comes to music and art.
Hello there, my name's Russell. I'm the founder at 8-Bit Arcade. We're a Web 2.5 gaming platform. We specifically target sort of indie games and helping them get to markets. We have a blockchain sort of infrastructure that we're currently developing and a mobile app with some novel social features up and coming, hopefully releasing later this year. I'm looking forward to being part of this conversation today. I think there's some great topics of interoperability that can be covered. So yeah, look forward to the convo.
My name is Julian. I'm the founder of Masma. We're building the most globally consumer-centric Web3 Ultra app ever made. So we're going to be seamlessly integrating Web3 and DeFi into everybody's daily lives. So now basically degens or beginners can easily experience Web3 without pain, fear, confusion, and isolation. We focus heavily on abstraction and cross-chain and just a whole new completely different user UI UX experience. Thank you.
All right, I think that's everybody. Yeah, definitely some new faces in the crowd in the panelist selection today, so this is going to be interesting. For those that are new, welcome. For those that are returning, welcome back. As always, love to have everyone involved. And so basically, let's jump right into the questions, topics for today. Again, if you are just joining us, my name is Cody. I'm the Chief Experience Officer at Layer 1X, and today we are joined by many experts to talk about the adoption, creating adoption in Web3. And so with that said, let's jump into our first question. The first question is kind of around how users want freedom of movement between the different platforms. And with that in mind, there are a lot of challenges with trying to promote your own projects and products and services on the specific chains that you are on. It sounds like there's quite a few different people that are on a lot of different chains here. How do you think that would affect once interoperability comes into play? Do you think it's going to be harder or easier to market your product, services, or protocol to not only your own chain, but to other chains in the future? Go ahead and just dive in. There's no hand raising or anything like that. So
okay, perfect. I wasn't sure if we were doing hands or not. Yeah, no, interoperability, I think it's huge. It's something that is really needed. Like right now, we're all looking at individual chains, and we all have the ones that we're bigger fans of or play around more on, and other ones that we kind of stay away from or maybe not have as much interaction with. But how we look at blockchain is really just a tech layer, and at the end of the day, that's all it really needs to be to enhance and provide all these awesome benefits. And when we get to a point where when I go into the supermarket and buy a bag of chips, I swipe my Visa card and I walk out the door with my chips. I don't care how the transaction's processed. I don't care what servers it's being run on or what kind of system or tech it's being done. And when we can kind of get to that point with the mainstream, I think is when it becomes much more appealing and much easier for both the applications we're building and for the consumer in general. Because at the end of the day, the consumers are coming in for your product. They're not coming in usually for your tech or for the layer that your tech's being run on or anything like that. They're coming in to fill a need for something they may have. And that may be like a new experience. It may be a new tech need at a business level or commerce level, or anywhere there on that spectrum. And once we get to that kind of point and everything works a lot more seamless, I think it's just no brainer that it opens up all this new liquidity and enlarging your market overall for your product, just in general.
100% agree with that. And I think like two of the pillars that need to be highlighted here is like when we talk about adoption, one of the first things that we should be thinking about is that people come towards a product generally because it has some kind of convenience / benefit. And if these things are chunky and janky and hard to use, and you're trying to pay for your bag of chips that was just mentioned, but then you've got to get your phone out and swap your blockchain and bridge your assets over because on that Visa card it wasn't there, maybe the state that we're at right now, it just becomes very inconvenient. And I don't even think at this point, until we've sort of industry-wide nailed that down, or for a big part of the industry, really need to think too much about adoption. So it's more about getting behind the scenes and making sure that the flows, there's lots of new sort of concepts coming out at the moment, such as chain abstraction, that for the end user experience, eventually, do they really even need to know what the blockchain is? Do they even need to know the different blockchains? Are we just segmenting our users by referring to all these blockchains? Yeah. I'm not sure. I think if the end user experience just gets their benefit and their convenience, we'll see adoption.
Yeah, so that's actually specifically what we've already built at Masma. So we built an account abstraction product which resembles identical to applications like PayPal, Venmo, etc. There's not one lick of gas fee transactions, like an on-chain transactions, blockchains, wallet addresses, none of it. We have a seedless infrastructure as well, so that's also part of so you can build with account abstraction. So the users just feels as easy as just signing up for a regular PayPal application, and then we have a thing called cash balance, which is basically hold stable coins, but the user doesn't realize that. And from there, they can do whatever they want. We have a thing called Smart Exchange. It basically aggregates every single chain, liquidity pool, all with smart routing and et cetera, and gas fee abstraction. So it feels as easy as just, you want to buy any token on any single exchange. You just, one click. We'll cross chain it, or if it's on a specific chain, whatever. And it looks as easy as I want to buy, I have $100 in my cash balance and I want to buy $10 with the latest shitcoin. It is $10. You'll include the transaction fee, which is gas fee, and then add those two sums together and you just pay directly with stables. So yeah, that's definitely, you're going to be seeing a lot more of that with the account abstraction stuff coming there now.
So this is a part that really quite excites me. Oh, sorry, whoever I just stepped on like a jerk. Sorry.
That's okay. You go and I'll go after.
So this is the part that really excites me because I think what we miss out a lot as builders in the Web3 space is that connective tissue is incredibly important. And of course, we're so early that we are building sort of the bones, and we have this foundation of many different chains. But in a lot of cases, you've got an arm bone over here that's meant to do one thing, and you've got a leg bone over here that's meant to do another thing. However, that's not how you build a whole functioning body, right? So as silly as the metaphor sounds, the services that are going to kind of come and pick and choose different features to combine them into an experience for an end user that solves a problem for them, as mentioned, or makes something more fun or creative, but gives them the benefits of decentralization is, of course, where my heart and sort of everybody that's involved with Hive is really, really focused. And so it's quite funny coming from a blockchain where we've already been operating. There's no ICO, there's no founder token, there's no founder. It's completely community run and developed, because what that means is we started with utility first. And as this blockchain that's kind of really focused on presenting these tools outward and just giving them to people to use, for us, we're often kind of reaching out and saying, hey, other blockchains that do something really well to do with DeFi or something really well to do with settlement. We've also got some capabilities with text storage on chain, things like custom JSON, can function almost anything completely. You could pull it completely easily from our public run RPC node infrastructure. There's a lot of different ways to leverage all of these social interactions that are already there. And so for these ideas of connective account abstraction or pulling information that's voluntary, which is a big thing in Web3, and pulling that into your services, here's a giant database of people who are already at least mildly familiar with crypto, who are bringing the Web2 sort of hobbies into play, whether that's using social media, which is a big part of relationship building and business building, playing games, settlements between friends. these are the things that kind of pull them into this space, and they don't necessarily have the decentralized values, but doing them in a Web3 way gives them those values, which means they're going to be really interested once they learn about what's behind the scenes.
Yeah, no, I completely agree there. Going back to Vayner's point is that, blockchain is just a technology layer. Like no one gives a shit. I think about blockchains like cellular towers, right? Like, Rogers, Bell, but we have to just use them, but we actually, at the end of the day, use the mobile phones, right? Because the experience, the ecosystem experience, the personalization of the phone to solve whatever problem we all have in our daily lives. And then the most important part there is actually building the experience so that we can build relationships or something that's like a low-hanging fruit. Usually it's like a high frequency, low margin activity, just as, for Twitter, right? They weren't making money for a long time, but it just the network effects and, messaging X, Y, and Z, that's quite valuable to us as humans. So going back to exactly what we were doing, like, this goes back to product 101 with Masma, so that so we actually have three main things that we want to target to help solve onboarding. We have three phases. Solve Web3 onboarding, which is reimagining the wallet. It's no seed phrase, email, password, insured as well. It'll be one of the first insured wallets on the space. That's non-custodial. It'll have, and then no Web3 jargon, right? Then you move from there is the exchange part, because people like to have a wallet. That's the entryway into Web3. CZ and Brian themselves have both claimed that they don't have that experience they both claim that the wallet is the way into Web3, but they themselves have not even solved that problem. So it's that the wallet itself is actually not supposed to really, you're not supposed to care about the wallet. It's supposed to be integrated into the experience, right? So then the second part is if you're in DeFi, is you gotta solve the exchange part. So that means that, because like using a DEX is complicated, you gotta do a lot of mental math. You gotta remember the native fees. You gotta, like, when you're looking at the actual DEX interface itself, right? It's like just a bunch of numbers. You gotta do it. Like, you need to have so much prerequisite learning to understand liquidity pairs. I'm up to pair, USD with this token first for highest liquidity, and then, like, you know what I mean? So that had to be refixed as well, so that it's identical to like Robinhood or any other Web2 investment platform we've used, which is literally just cash to a stock, back from the stock to cash, and then whatever from cash to whatever I want to buy next. And then the third part, which is very important, because where we're going right now, it seems that super apps, or like what we like to coin in Web3, super app is Web2, right? In Web3, we coin ultra app. The reason why is that you were talking about, it's like headless marketplaces, right? Or what I like to just say for fun, the ultralization of decentralized applications, which means that a Web3 application can literally go anywhere and grab for any tool, because smart contracts are available, data is transparent, and you can just create these awesome applications, which would take years for a super app, but like literally like a month in Web3, right? So you have a lot of these like more advanced tool sets, or just like liquidity pool, whatever. But going back into the third stage that we solved is actually integrating a Twitter, Discord, and CoinMarketCap all into one application, so that now we're running these spaces, or someone talks about a specific token, and it then automatically goes, like, the user's journey goes directly to the token. You can buy the token in one click. Whoever was talking about it gets affiliate fees. Then you can get a little more like crazy and move into like the WeChat model, where it's like there's businesses now on chain, and then they want to maybe make some posts or something similar to like the Farcaster Frames, but more like on the WeChat side. But I do 100% agree that it's the user experience to bring the user in. So that's through some type of low hanging fruit, low frequency activity. But then throughout that journey, they're like, hey, I saw this. Someone talk about this token like Dogecoin with Elon Musk, whatever. That's how actually I got into Web3. But then you're like, oh, whoa, this is really simple to actually buy this token, and then you buy it, you get like a 10x or a 2x, whatever. And then you realize, well, this is actually something I want to invest my time in. And then you kind of seamlessly start to learn more about Web3 or cryptocurrencies.
So there, So as I agree with some of this adoption talk, some of it's straightly like directed towards the GambleFi, DeFi, everything, and yeah, a lot of like the gamers that are going to come out to the platform of Web3, they don't care about investing, they don't care about this stuff. They just want to play their games. They want it to be a very simple experience of clicking into their smart account, grabbing their game, and playing. Sure, you're going to get some people that are interested in trading and doing all that stuff, but majority of the people don't give a fuck about that, and I don't mean that rudely. They just don't care. So what we need to do is make the onboarding experience the most easiest way we can. And what I mean by that is under 3 clicks, phone, email, right into a smart account. Embedded accounts is what these are called, account abstraction embedded accounts. This allows a user to even take their wallet from that embedded account, put it into MetaMask. So it allows account recovery, it allows all this safety too. The reality is Web 2 people, users, it doesn't matter if you're from Facebook to the battle.net, you need to be educated on what Web3 is. So there's an education value of teaching your community, what your tools are and what you're going to do for them. In this case, for instance, password stuff. How we all know here in this panel, how easy it is to click something or give somebody your phrase and then you lost everything. Well, it's really easy to give your Web 2 password up or do the same thing over on gaming side or anything too. So it's just about education of not doing that. So we just got to make people aware that you could lose your ownership of your things now. The key word here is losing ownership, comparable to losing centralized account that, yeah, you get back, but it's still an account. So there's
Yeah,
just an
well,
education thing too.
yeah, well, I mean, DeFi, if you've never bought a token before, I'm sure you started your experience through tokens first. But generally speaking, I mean, DeFi is going to drive the space, and then that is pushing the narratives for what you're talking about, a kind of like seamless onboarding. Account abstraction has really solved a lot of the experiences. Like if we use our technology today, and I was a gamer too, right? I mean, I understand all that process. You don't need seed phrases anymore for the video games. You can actually look at the application. What wallet is it? There's a seamless wallet. I forgot the name of it, but it uses account abstraction, and it actually allows the user experience for video games to be a lot better because you're using session keys now, so you don't have to sign throughout the whole process. Email password, so you don't have to worry about seed phrase or losing your assets there. And then there's companies like Metakeep.xyz. They're going to provide that seamless experience for the gamers as well. No seed phrase, and as well the assets of the video game should be insured as well theoretically. So I mean that part is not really the issue. I think the thing about Web3 gaming is that everybody doesn't understand how difficult Web3 gaming, like how difficult AAA games are to build. Like that takes 3 years for even a Web2 company. The thing about Web3 is everyone is building games and then they're tying the tokenomics into it, and like gamers don't give a shit about money. I 100% agree, because the difference between a gamer and an investor is an investor doesn't give a shit to make $1 million, whether it's 6 months or like 1 minute. I just want to click one button. A gamer is different. If you were to like add a hack to like Skyrim or one of these, when you're on a PC, you like knowingly tell yourself like, dude, if I hack or mod this game right now, I'm never gonna play it again. Because gamers think differently. They actually enjoy the intrinsic value of challenges, right? That's why they play it. Like they want to escape reality. They want to play this challenging game. It gives them intrinsic motivation or value, whatever. So in Web3 gaming, literally it fails every single time because they're doing like, oh, we have a token launch for a project, and literally everybody hears a DeFi. You can't ignore it. The reason why we're here is for tokens.
So I agree with you, but that's just because people are building from the top down instead of from the bottom up. So as I agree with you, it's more about principle of the people who are leading that stuff, and some business logic is just wrong right now. And it worked in 2018 because it was all new, but now the communities are here, and that's the big thing.
Of course, yeah. Well, and it goes back to the exact same point you just said. Oh, like DeFi is a scam. There's also going to be the same bad actors in that space as well, right? What chain are you building on, right? Like not everything is a scam or a Ponzi. It depends on who in the bell curve you're dealing with. The same thing for gaming, same thing for DeFi. Um, the best thing I think for right now for Web3 onboarding is like literally figuring, not doing a token launchpad for a project, but like figuring out how do we build APIs or how do we build solutions to integrate with AAA games and start there. Like for example, GTA. People always kind of talk about how the GTA might have like some type of crypto element to which would be fucking huge. Like if GTA had some type of really small crypto thing, you would have like insane like adoption because they'd be like using it. That you have a wallet connected maybe like to their like they're doing heists, and then their bank account has a little bit of crypto. They can I don't know, send it out. But that would be where I think is going to be the 20% that does 80% of the value for that.
So
So,
these. Oh, go
uh,
ahead.
sorry, I was just going to say, I obviously we can't deny that DeFi leads the space because money often pushes spaces forward. Like that's
Yeah,
just that's the standard for sure. But I actually have to disagree to a point that that's the only sort of focus that we should have. You're spot on that most games being built with tokenomics first are, of course, seeing again the dollar signs. They're coming in here and they're trying to force fit that sort of financial structure and then be like, oh shit, we have to make a fun game around it.
yeah,
But the flip side is that there are a ton of people who are, you hit it on the head by saying they're challenged. There's an intrinsic motivation that goes beyond money. And the crypto space is incredibly small right now. And that intrinsic motivation that's here and present, for the most part, is around DeFi, is around the magic money, internet casino, like manna from heaven kind of thing, and has taught people to think differently. The flip side is there are a lot of people that are intrinsically motivated by Web3 values. They just don't know it. And so these matchups kind of happen. And I can say I'm one of them. You said, oh, you probably entered the space through a token. It's true. ETH kind of brought me into the space, and I bought my first ETH at $15, but it didn't keep me and hook me until I found a place that was like, hey, but do you want to blog? And you can't be deplatformed. And yes, you can also earn a bit of crypto. And that first idea of immutable content, self-sovereign identity, and relationships that couldn't be taken away from me became really important as I made my sort of exodus from Facebook. And we have waves of people now here who are on X or Facebook or socials or even games who have found, oh, the account that I ground in WoW for X amount of years, they took it away from me, and all the assets that were attached to it, they were owned by someone else. Or I said a no word on X and my post disappeared and my account was locked. But that's the main motivator for my business. And now my business is nuked. So there are a lot of things that when you start talking about the Web3 space and some of this stuff around gaming, brands, social, DeFi, financial, they all kind of come back to there are intrinsic motivations that go hand in hand that you can present to the people that money doesn't work. And that's been a huge part of growing, both Hive as a blockchain, but also just the people who are ready to embrace Web3. The big bonus is once they get it, they're evangelists for life and they start teaching their friends. So that peer-to-peer connection is going to be a really important part. I love this game. I love this abstracted wallet that brought me into Web3. I love this social platform. Let me grab my buddies. That's, where people gather, marketplaces form. And that's the core of kind of where we're at now.
I think you hit it. I think you hit a good point right there. And, when you talk about that intrinsic motivation, right? Because crypto is still such a small community and so new for a lot of people, they're relying on people that they trust and they have that emotional connection to, for them to basically help them, guide them, mentor them through many different aspects of the complexity that we already have with crypto right now. And I agree 100%. Being a UI UX designer for 2 decades, it's one of those things that is very close to my heart, and I'm very excited with the upcoming years, this year and next year, that there's a lot of crypto projects that are fully focused on user experience and trying to solve a lot of those problems for onboarding. And I like to use the term keeping things under the hood. I use the analogy of the car when it comes to the complexity of describing crypto to non-crypto people. When you get into a car, there's people that just put the key in the ignition, turn it, and expect the car to go to get them from point A to point B. And there's people that generally know how an engine works. They want to know how an engine works. They know the ins and outs of it, and they want to get into the technical details, and that's perfectly fine. But we need to take a step back and look at that. And so I love the discussion around the user experience. I kind of want to shift the discussion a little bit. If we look at the true ethos of what Web3 is designed to do, it's all about decentralization. It's about users owning their data. And then it's also about basically changing how we interact and engage. And there's already been some talk around that, but I want to focus in on the user-owned data. So with that being in mind, is kind of the topic there. How can we best explain to the average user or non-crypto person about putting an identity out there, having them own their own data, where they've been told that it's fully anonymous, and trying to bridge the gap there?
I think the first thing, that's a really great question, but I think the first thing for a non-crypto user, so if we're going to focus on non-crypto users, we need to lead them in with some form of entertainment, some kind of benefit, and that convenience, because I think we're very owning the wallet, even just the way that a wallet's number is put together, the alphanumeric code, it's nothing new to all of us here. And I think we forget that for the non-crypto user, when we bombard them with this kind of like content narrative and message first, that it often just pushes people away, and it becomes in that realm of unfamiliarity. It's not intuitive enough for them, especially if we're speaking about getting, those people in who are going to bring their community. Then it needs to be kind of familiar and benefit-led first. So I think opening the door to them in a way that's familiar, whether it's gaming or whether it's DeFi, not to go back to UI, UX and all those things, but just making sure that those things are all seamless. Those things are all very, very familiar. And then as they're going through the benefit, in gaming, I worked in gaming for 2 years, and one of the core pillars that we always used was time to fun, and the other one was time to reward as well. And then getting people in and getting them comfortable in the space, and then bringing those messages forward. Oh, by the way, did you know that you're ordered for sharing select data that you choose, or whatever it might be? But we need to open that door that's benefit-led first and familiar, and then bring that narrative in my experience in converting non-crypto people.
Yeah. I mean, I think when it comes to like data, it's really tricky because it's something like we all know, and even people outside the space, like theoretically they know like I should be protecting my data. My data can be vulnerable. My mother, for instance, she can get her email hacked. She can have, her phone hacked, her bank accounts hacked, everything else hacked. And then she'll still download the next, app on her phone that gives permissions to every single thing and reads every bit of data, and continues to do that. And we continue falling in that same trap. And a lot to what, I'm going to pronounce it wrong probably, but Seda or Seta had said is like, kind of starting to create it where it's familiar, creating these systems where people understand them when they first come in. And that goes, a lot kind of like he pointed out to the UI UX, where you can go in, you don't need to like get confused or go watch YouTube videos or anything of the sort. You can kind of go in and you can kind of figure these systems out for whatever the business program platform may be, and slowly kind of start, educating people towards that and letting them kind of slowly take steps. I know, like for myself, when I first entered the blockchain space, like data was not something that I ever thought about. You know, a lot of the things that I think about now and interact with now and that are very important to me now were not things that were even on my radar at the time when I first, you know, bought my first cryptocurrency and first, you know, jumped into the crypto game. But they were, you know, kind of revealed to me later through either experiences or through discussions or anything of the sort. So, you know, really creating these systems where it starts to make it make sense, because I think we still need that aha moment as a society, and we can go around and tell everyone like, hey, you need to protect your data, you need to protect your data, and then they're like, yeah, I got LifeLock, I'm fine, and it's on their way. And you know, people need to come to that kind of understanding, I think, a lot on their own and have those kind of experiences to where they see, wait, this really is a better way. And once they can, you know, experience it's a better way on their own, as opposed to being told it's a better way, it'll start clicking in more and more people. And I think as that door starts to open and more people start to understand, it'll be that wave will grow, you know, because you'll have self-educators out there. You'll have people like me that's like, hey, you know, did all this with my data, mom, this is why you should do it. You know, my brothers, this is why you should do it. And then my brothers and my mom are telling their friends like, hey, here's why you should be doing it. You know, it's better for XYZ reasons. But really kind of finding that aha moment and not just telling people like, hey, protect your data because of this, because that's just, I don't think that's going to work, and it hasn't worked. And no matter how many times people are vulnerable with their data, they continue to do so, at least right now in the kind of society we live in.
So one of the ways that I kind of approach this, often I'm asked to talk about this topic because that's kind of a big thing at the core of Hive, as well as a self-sovereign identity. And so protecting your data, huge. Obviously, we know that today's world is absolutely everything is a threat, but there's also the flip side, and that's teaching people that they're valuable, and not valuable as a moneymaker to a giant conglomerate, to a corporation, but helping people understand that when we're talking about data, it should be voluntary. It's as simple as that. You have choice, and Web3, as scary of a concept as it is overall, is about that ownership. We, you know, a bunch of speakers have touched on this now. The big thing is, hey, by the way, you get to choose what goes on the blockchain. You get to choose who you interact with. You get to choose the games, the tokens. You get to pick. It's voluntary. Facebook isn't going to force you to put in X amount of info about you. You know, you don't have to be KYC'd if you don't want to be. Maybe that's not a part of your journey. Or maybe you want to build a completely separate identity. Here I am on this space. I go by Crimson Clad. That's not my name, but most people know me by that because the totality of the things that I've built and the communities that I've interacted with is attached to this name. It's a wallet address. It's a history that I choose to create. And we're doing that across a number of different spaces, often tied to wallets. So that's kind of one of the biggest parts, I think, that will come back to the interoperability part, is that these self-sovereign identities that you're creating across blockchains will be something that'll be gathered into one place. You will control that repository of information about you. So it's not just protecting your data in terms of keeping yourself safe and not having it hacked or taken away from you, but it's also just recognizing that as a participant in Web3, in a relationship, whether it's with a business or another person, it's voluntary. I'm in control of me. I'm in control of what I do and the data that I provide. And for some people, that's going to be content creation. For some people, that's going to be game assets. And for some people, that's going to be, I am going to be a mysterious, shadowy supercoder and speculate on tokens. And all of those things are fine. And that's what's kind of cool about our space.
But is any of that
Hey
actually
guys,
important? Like, that's one of the things that we're talking about right now is data and ownership and everything else. But how many people does that actually affect? Yeah, you're talking about this problem that, you know, needs this huge solution. And we all tend to talk about it a lot, but how many people does it actually affect? Like you mentioned World of Warcraft earlier. Now, you know, I first started playing that in 2005, 2006. My account is still there. So this, you know, this data that you talk about that we need to protect, that isn't actually causing any problems for anyone right now. Not the vast majority of people anyway. So when we talk about adoption, you know, is that really, you know, is this problem that we're trying to solve actually going to adopt that many people? That's really the question. Like to
But
add
it's
there.
not necessarily the part of adoption. It is when you get somebody who wants to go, oh, a new social platform, and I get all these neat points. The reality is it's an inherent benefit that comes along with using a decentralized, platform for it. You choose the message to the people that you're trying to adopt. The vast majority of adoption, like we said, don't give a shit about tokens either. So picking and choosing where these protocols come together and who you're attracting is a product market fit. And that's going to be where you see dApps, brands, games, the things that are built on top of that tech layer that we were talking about earlier. That's where they're going to have to do the identification and kind of tailor their message, because I think each level of this is going to look a little different. So here I am, I'm talking about Hive as a protocol. I get to talk to people who want to build on top of Hive or leverage parts of Hive for their chain or their products. But the flip side is that is not a good message for somebody who is making an idle clicker game or, specifically a shitcoin casino. So I agree with that. I just think if you are keeping the benefits that come inherently in this space in mind, those automatically become add-on sells for you. You can tailor your message to who you're talking to and be able to offer them because they're a better way to build. I agree. They're not the message that you're necessarily going to lead with all the time. But we're talking about how do we get everybody here working together and building something a little better too.
Yeah, I just want to throw out a
Hey guys,
Andrew
question.
Luban from Pulsar.ai. I got rugged earlier. We do discoverability for NFTs, so we want to bring everybody on chain as NFTs, right? That's the thesis. Everybody's going to rebuild their business on NFTs, and we're going to be an upstream search discovery piece for that. What I'm hearing a lot, and I think maybe everybody here is talking their book a little bit, we probably should maybe take a step back as an industry, right? The question is creating adoption in Web3. We're still tiny. We're still so zoomed in. Think about mass adoption. They don't even really understand crypto yet. What resonates for those kinds of folks? Ownership, sure. Fun is important. Authenticity. I like the message of empowering you, right? You are in control. You own it. But I think there's an error here, and I'm hearing a lot of it, have heard a lot of it in these spaces, is a lot of us are so zoomed in on what we're building and unique use cases. And I think for all of us, what benefits everyone in this room is how do we maybe zoom out and how do we make it super easy to bring in those casual folks who are still just kind of scratching the surface. I think that's worth thinking about.
The workshop for that specifically with the theme of creating adoption, and as a UI UX person as well, is we should be asking ourselves questions here. How did you get started? Right? What was your aha moment? Because obviously we are in the bell curve, either innovators, early adopters. So we're obviously going to be searching for more opportunities to see the differences in Web3. But it's a really important thing to first understand ourselves. Why did we get started? What was our aha moment? I remember mine, right? Which is why I built my company around it. It was like, I want to replicate this experience. So I think it's very valuable if we all share what was our, what drew us in, what was our aha moment, and what was the trigger event that said, you know what, I'm going to go all in. And that'll probably help people here then re-engineer that user experience to create adoption, because this happens with product all the time. We talk about all the features, like blah 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 blah. Like, just like Matt said, I have my WoW account still from 2007. No one hacks anything. Only unless you do something illegal in Web 2 is where then obviously the companies and policies usually 90% of the time will then block your thing. That other 5% or 10% could sometimes just be a mistake, right? I literally had my WhatsApp account banned by accident, just because I was doing some weird stuff, and then I reached out to my friend that worked at WhatsApp. He's like, "Oh, dude, sorry, that was our mistake," right? So it's not everyone's coming out at you, but I think if we share our experiences, that might be very valuable.
I just want to throw something in. This has been a great conversation, by the way. Jesus Christ, this is probably one of the best spaces I've listened to in a while. So hats off to all the speakers so far. Name's Shizzy Baker behind Spicy Capital, the CMO of the VC here. But I wanted to add a small little curveball into this conversation. I know we're coming to the end soon, so it's probably going to stop here after the curveball. But I wanted to say, I hear what everyone's saying in terms of the adoption teaching people that, you know, they own their own identification, they own their own ID, they own their own data, all that kind of stuff. But Metaverse said something. He said, well, you know, we're going to be showing them all this stuff. I'm going to be teaching these people and educating them, but how much of this information is actually going to affect them on their day to day? Most people in the world don't even know their actual rights as a human being to their rights as a then what they're called by their name. And this is something that I have only recently, you know, been opened up to. And that's props to my partner. She done a lot of research into understanding humans, names, titles, all that kind of stuff. And we were talking about it the other day. Well, I said we were talking. She was educating me on it, and she was showing me a lot of the terminologies. And then when I come to conversations in the crypto world, and we talk about this web is decentralized, you know, we own our data. People don't even know what their passport really is. People don't even know that their birth certificate is just a receipt. People don't know these things. They don't even know what their name actually is. So imagine going to tell someone, by the way, you own your crypto, you own your data on chain. They're going to look at you like a madman because they're going to be thinking, what do you mean? They will ask you the question, what do you mean I own my data on chain? What is on chain? What's off chain? What are you talking about? Can I see this chain? Can I touch this chain? They're not going to understand that. They don't even know that fiat currency is fake. They don't know that the only money in the world is gold and silver. I know people are saying crypto is money as well, but look, let's be real, okay? This has only been going for the last 10 years. Gold and silver has been here for a long freaking time, okay? So the only money that we have is gold and silver. They don't even know that. They have no idea how long this goes back. So imagine going to your mum and telling her, by the way, you own your data. She doesn't even know what cookies are, man.
Well,
So
it's really not. I mean, like, especially if you're in the EU, because like GDPR already protects your data anyway. So like
yeah,
this is kind of what I was trying to get at, because that really isn't benefiting or important to anyone. Like that isn't going to create mass adoption. And a lot of the problems and the solutions that people tend to give in projects, there's a couple of events that need to happen first before a lot of that can even happen. One of those things is like the running of the
mhm,
banks. You'd for a lot of the solutions that people are talking about, or this, for mass adoption, would require the entire fiat banking system to fail first. And so I think, a lot of that
yeah,
is really, really just missing the point of what true adoption is. And I think one of the questions I was asked a minute ago, was going to go around and ask, what got everyone into this space. And not being funny, but if anyone but majority of the people here, the speakers here, didn't say money, I'd be saying cap, like cap all the way. Like for me, I'm going to be straight with you. Like what got me into Bitcoin back in 2010 was I found out I could buy like that I could buy illegal data and drugs online in the dark, like in the dark market. So that's what got me into it. And like anyone here that's going to say, "Oh no, it was because I wanted to decentralize my business," all that is bollocks. Like you were here for money. Like that was one of the things that got you here. And if it wasn't that, it was because you wanted to do something in secret. And so, like,
Oh,
those is what's adopted us. And so, for you to say anything else, or for anyone to say anything else, would just be pure cap. And like, so when we talk about adoption in this space, we need to actually bring something that's of value and that's actually going to
yeah.
benefit people that they can't just do already with fiat. Like that's what
Mm.
utility is for blockchain. So,
Well,
but yeah,
the
anyway.
best. Yeah, you're completely right. Yeah, be careful. You're gonna criminalize yourself on the spaces.
It's
Um,
still good, man. I'm saying,
This
it's
is
all
a
about the
safe
truth, man.
space.
I'd rather be truthful in this space. I think that's
oh,
one of
for
the things that
sure.
ruins this space is like a
Yeah,
lack of honesty. So you got
yeah,
to come
yeah.
out straight of it.
It's a safe space.
Yeah.
Just keep that in mind.
I would like to say so the best way to see how Web3 will actually adopt is look at ChatGPT, right? You create such an amazing fucking product that it's not the product itself that sells, it's the word of mouth, right? Because marketing does not work for early majority, right? We are innovators and early adopters. We see an idea, we want to be creative, we want to join it early. Like we're okay with seeing things because we can differentiate, through our ideas and blah 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 blah. How Web3 will emerge to early adopter, early majority is, well, one, we solve the UI UX, we solve like better use cases, we understand how to move through this, the storytelling or education, whatever. But there's going to be a product which then is so amazing, and you don't have to know anything. Like it just feels like a regular application, but now you can do something that you were not able to do previously, and unlocked a whole new like a human ability for you. They're like, oh my God, I've never been able to do this before, right? Which is part of interoperability, sending money across the world. Like, but it's gonna be something's gonna happen so amazingly in a product that you're just gonna want to talk about it to your friends. And that's actually how early majority actually gets adopted. Is that the innovators usually bring in the early adopters, and then the early adopters go crazy, and then to cross the chasm to early majority, it's all word of mouth. So when the product once something hits off in this where we are right now, we're actually on the cusp of it. We got the Bitcoin going to 100K soon. We got all these amazing products coming out. One of these products are going to come out, and basically you're going to want to share with your friends, your family. You're just going to talk a lot about it, and then that's going to, like, we all do that now, right? Like, but the thing is, like Spicy was saying, I'm not going to go walk to my mom and say, hey, download MetaMask, go through the seed phrase. You're not going to want to fucking do that. But when one day you're going to use an application, you're like, oh my God, like this does everything decentralized applications can do. But like, I know that my grandma can use it. It's grandma certified, grandpa certified, whatever. And so that is actually when adoption is going to just blow up. When like the product is so damn good, it's already solved all of what we're talking about here, but in now an essence of something very beautiful. And especially as a UI UX, and I'm crypto not can agree to this, is that we can all talk about ideas and be like, hey, whoa, like I want to solve Web3 onboarding. But the thing is, ideas are a dime a dozen. The hardest part is figuring out how to actually day on day execute that so that it actually becomes realized, right? Just like the ChatGPT, like that unlocked like human thinking and creativity. Like that was nuts, right? Now with Web3, it's going to unlock something different. It's going to unlock some type of like new ability for humans to do something, and then it's going to be so blatant to us. And I think that is where the adoption is gonna kind of happen. But yeah, so that's my thoughts about that, and like, I'm sure we can all make that correlation. Just think about ChatGPT, like we all shared that with our friends and family. So now you're just gonna have to keep an eye out or create a similar solution, which is just so damn good you want to share to your friends and family.
One, I got to jump off here in about 2 minutes. I am so sorry, but I have a meeting that's going to be starting. But I'll say I did not come into crypto for any other reason than pure and wholesome reasons for the technology. That technology was so I could gamble online without my fiat, because I was geo restricted and could not put money onto an online gambling account with my bank. So that was kind of my that was kind of my initial when I started really kind of getting into crypto more. That was my onboarding bridge.
Honestly, we should all be like monastery, like Samaritans, but rich ones though, rich ones.
Exactly. But one last point I just wanted to say before I had to jump off is, I think it's also important to remember, like, while we're building these protocols, these applications, these tools, everything else is, most of us here, we want to be our own bank. We want custody of our own assets. We want all that responsibility. But I think there's a large segment of the world that does not. They don't want the responsibility of being their own bank, the responsibility of, having that where they can't call a customer service number for something gone wrong. So, taking these decentralized concepts and issues is going to fill a huge need in this market. But I think that there's also another side of the market that we need to constantly be focused on, and that's the ones that require will need solutions that look and feel and may have a lot of these decentralized components, but don't go quite to the extreme of like, hey, now you're fully responsible for everything you own. Kind of ideal.
Yeah. Money, sex, power. Those are the three driving things, right? That's what mass adoption needs. And if we can productize that and use that in a useful way, ideally combining all three, that's how you get everybody on board. I think we're probably likely more in the power and the money part of those products at the moment, but what drives mass adoption, those are the psychological drivers.
I'll just jump in there quickly, because I haven't done so far, but it's been a great conversation. I think there is that story that everyone is in it for the money, and I think that is absolutely true for the most part. I think those those early evangelists who are all about kind of decentralization and the political side of it, I think they've been fighting a losing battle for some time because everyone's just caring about getting new users on board at the moment, right? But I don't think that means anything in terms of looking ahead to the future. I think most products don't solve an obvious problem. Or great products, they solve a problem people aren't even aware they have yet. And I think that's definitely true of Web3. And I think when I look ahead to sort of 5 years' time, to me, the idea that people are not going to be trading digital assets and owning digital currencies, that is unbelievable to me, that this won't happen. I think if you look at use cases like digital fashion, gaming, metaverses, people running around with VR headsets on already, even though it's kind of ridiculous and clunky. This, to me, in my mind, or at least I'm willing to bet 100% that this is going to happen. And I don't think it's actually that different from a lot of behaviors we see already, like Steam Marketplace, been trading game skins for years, Warcraft Gold has been farmed for years. So I think it's just an evolution of that. But it all does seem very silly now because our early use cases were all quite silly and money motivated. But I think that
it's all phases. I mean, phase 1 will be this. Phase 2, early majorities, when that real product comes to life, and then once that becomes daily life, and has nothing to do with any of that crap anymore, then late majority gets into it, and then boom, 2030, we're living a whole new transparent, trustless, and like good society that and there's a lot of evil that Web3 will remove too, because money does bring evil, to some degree. And then, because things are not transparent, yeah.
Well, what a great discussion. We've definitely come up to our time, so I want to be cautious of everybody's time, but I do want to ask one last question. And so I encourage everybody to kind of jump in on this one. If you could magically solve one barrier to mass adoption in Web3 by tomorrow, what would that be and why?
I'll go first. I've got to jump off. It'll be really simple. Take away all the random terminology. It's not GameFi, it's just gaming. It's not DeFi, it's just finance. It's not anything else. It's not SocialFi, it's just social media. Just take away all the stupid terminologies. We don't need them anymore. It's not NFTs, it's just pictures on the internet. That's all it is. Okay, just really simple. And I know it'll be sad for everyone, but we could just talk about it between each other as banter. But everyone else that wants to get involved is just whatever it is. So yeah, that's how I would do it.
Hi guys, it's Peter here from Boom, and I totally agree with what you just said. I think what we're doing at Boom is essentially taking Boom and taking crypto to the masses by ensuring that the almost 2 billion people with a bank account can actually now get connected, and buy and sell and pay and get paid online, without needing to go through the banking system. So what we've done is we've actually created a super app, which is in both app stores. It's in 20 languages. So people in Africa, in Timbuktu can actually use the app. And we've abstracted and removed all the complexities. We don't talk about NFTs. We don't talk about anything complex. We actually speak to people in their basic terminologies so that they can use it as if they're just doing their everyday commercial transaction. So yeah, that's one of the things we're doing, and our goal is essentially to onboard at least 50 to 100 million people this year in Africa, and that's how we're taking crypto to the masses and essentially removing all the distractions from adoption for the masses. Cheers, Peter.
I love that question. I'll jump in with one. I think we talk about technology a lot. I think the tougher barrier is that kind of stigma attached to Web3 and the bad reputation it has. And I think, if I speak to people maybe in the traditional gaming industry, 90% of gaming industry people, you talk to them about Web3 and they look like they want to throw up. That is how bad it is. And we exist in these bubbles where we think it's the best thing. And I do believe it is. But yeah, stepping outside of Web3 and talking to normal people about it, there's a long way to go culturally, I think, before it gets adopted in that sense.
Yeah, I think for me, for adoption, one of the things that probably worries me the most is that It's going to be forced on us by central banks, by Web2 collaboratives, etc. And so my only wish really is that we beat them to the punch, really, and that mass adoption happens here. And just a quick one as well in terms of like dumbing down the terminology, like definitely 100% don't do that. The Web2 computers, everything, all those technologies that we're all using right now to communicate, all have their own individual terminologies, and that is the reason why we all understand what retweet is or a comment is, etc. So yeah, don't dumb down the language. Like you need that terminology to differentiate between what is Web3, what is blockchain, and what is everything else. So yeah, don't move away from that. That's the only thing I'd add to that. But yeah, otherwise, yeah, thanks for having me along and everything. So this has been a really, really good chat, and yeah, hope to chat to you all very, very, very soon.
I think education is a big thing for everybody. And I know I say education and it's boring to a lot of people, and reading is boring.
Yeah, I'll just make the general point. Just simplify. Make it as easy as possible for the user to get from point A to point B. So if they're making money, say if you download this app, you do X, Y, you make Y amount of money, or you get X use case. I think just simplify, simplify, simplify.
Yeah, well, for me, I mean, I'm not. I don't need to wish for anything right now. I'm trying to build it out. So it's just for me, just time.
That's a good answer. I like that. Crimson, do you want to go? Oh, is she on? Oh, I think we lost a couple. So anyways, thanks everybody who participated in today's panel. Really, really good discussion. I like the rabbit hole we went down. Before we close this out, just wanted to give you guys a big thanks, as well as to remind everybody that on the 16th at 8 a.m. Australian time or 12 a.m. UTC time, we'll be having another X Talks episode number 23. That should be another good one where we talk about interoperability and is interoperability the most valuable investment we can make in the future of Web3. So you probably want to tune in for that one. But thanks again for everybody for showing up. This is a great topic. I think this is on the forefront of a lot of different people's minds, especially projects as we go into 2024. And, for us at Layer 1X, our whole design is to basically unite projects, unite chains all through native interoperability, bridgeless interoperability. And so we have the concept that collaboration is key to growth of all of everybody's projects, everybody's experiences. And we encourage you, if you're interested, to definitely check us out and reach out if you want to learn more as well. We would love to collaborate with you guys. And so with that, we will catch you guys on the next episode. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks everybody. Bye-bye.
Thanks, guys. Thanks.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.